Man, were they waiting to put this episode out? How's everyone doing today, guys? My name is Ticos, and this is episode 31 of Amphibia, the Shut-In, or in other words, the Halloween episode. Oh my goodness, is this episode crazy, and it's probably my favorite just because of the sheer creativity of this episode is it's crazy, and it's like I mean, again, it's like you watch this episode from beginning to end, literally intro to outro. You can tell that they were excited to finally get this episode out, and they probably had a blast making this one. And from what I heard, this is the first episode of the series that is not canon. So in other words, everything that happens in this episode they won't have any like repercussions or like any callbacks, or it's not gonna be basically it's like the Treehouse of Horror episodes from The Simpsons, like that's just the thing that they do. And again, it makes sense because it allows them to do whatever the heck they want in this world. And honestly, I mean, as much as I would have loved this to have been been a part of the actual series, I understand why they didn't do that, because right out of the gate, I mean, after the freaky intro, which I admit, I think that's my favorite version of the intro. I mean, granted, from what I've seen, there's only three. The main one that comes up nearly every episode, the one that it has sung by I've like there's one where it's actually sung and it's on YouTube, and then this one's probably my favorite because of just the sheer spookiness it has is so freaking cool. But yeah, so they go in to this episode and it's like we're back in Wartwood already. It's like right out of the gate you're like, wait, what? And it's so I mean, that kind of bothered me. I mean, I'm like, wait, so we're doing this episode right after Day at the Aquarium, right after the mid-season finale. We're doing this episode? Now, granted, I don't know if that was the original plan, and I looked at the IMDb page. This was their episode. This was the final episode before they took their break, and it's in October 2020. So it made sense that what better episode to leave off of in October than the Halloween episode. So if it was their original plan to drop this episode, I don't know. Maybe they thought they originally were gonna have enough episodes where they would get back to Amphibia and then they wouldn't have this, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they realized that they needed to take their break because because this is episode 11 of 20 in season 2. Again, I'm kind of going air quotes with that because we know how this goes. Enough with that. Sorry, I want to talk about this episode because I really had a fun time with this. So, in the world of Amphibia, it's not Halloween. They call it the Shut-In because there's a legend about this blue moon that comes out once a year where if anyone gazes upon the moon, something terrible happens to them. So in order to prevent that, the citizens of Wartwood lock themselves in their homes, board up the windows and board up the doors so that way they don't see into the moonlight, and in case anyone does, they don't get attacked by anyone. So very irrelevant. It's being stuck inside with the dangerous thing outside. So, and what's interesting is they open it up with the kids going around town and like getting gifts from people who were like so, unlike instead of candy, it's like let's see, Anne gets a bag of nails, or no, yeah, there's a bag of nails. I think Polly got a hatchet, and Anne got a freaking flamethrower, which I love. It's basically this bug that when Anne presses it, it literally just spits out fire, and I'm like, that will come in handy, hopefully. And I mean, that would be a clever idea, clever way to call back to this episode is if later on they use that flamethrower bug. I mean, I'm just trying to think ahead, but so yeah, like I said, they are doing this because of the blue moon, and talks about, oh, this kind of feels like Halloween from my world. You see in our world, Halloween is a holiday where kids go around and they ask for and they say trick or treat, and so the people have to give them treats. And then Polly's like, what if they don't? And then Anne's like, oh, if you don't, then you pull a trick on them. And then Polly's like, oh, your world sounds amazing. It's like she basically she really likes the idea. So the family gets back to the house. They board up all the windows and doors, and so they stay inside. And of course, Hop Pop's like, well, who's ready to tell some scary stories? So majority of this episode is them doing usually what most Halloween episodes do, and that is that they tell anthology stories, 3 stories about that are scary, that are nice little ideas and stuff, and yeah, they're really creative with them. I love the ideas that they come up with. And I'll admit, I was a little caught off guard with, so Hop Up is like, the rule is you have to tell a true story that is scary, but it doesn't involve anyone. Like, so like only, like maybe if it involves just you and like one other person, that flies. But if like every single person in the room present has experienced it, that doesn't fly. And so that's shown with Polly, she tries to make up story. She tries to tell the story about the night at the inn episode, and later on she tries to do one about, what was the other one? The children of the spore, and then she even tries to make a joke about Anne, like make a story about Anne being the beast at the beginning of the very beginning of the series. But like I said, each one, they all experienced it, they all were a part of that, so they shut it down. So Polly's like, okay. So the first story that we do is Anne, who talks about Phone Mo, so her story is called Phone Mo. Yeah. So in this, she's like, so I get it. I'm very creative with this because I've seen, like, fan arts of like people being like, what if Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop were, humans? And so this story takes advantage of that because Anne is back in the human world, but it's not Anne, it's Anna. And it's not Sprig and Polly, it's Twig and Molly. So we get to see Sprig and Polly as humans, and it's actually pretty clever. I like the way they do it. Like Sprig, like they're basically humans, but you got Sprig's hair, you got his hat. Polly, she's got a bow in her head, and she even walks around with rubber boots and even a bucket. Like she has a bucket in her left foot, which I thought was pretty clever. And yeah, I thought they were pretty cool. I thought they were really cool, and it's not just them. They also have Maddie and Toadie in this as well, or Maddie and Brody. Yeah, Maddie and Brody. Maddie, for her, she's got like a hood on, and like part of her hair is covering her face, whereas Brody basically just looks like the normal dude. But they all have the same voices, which are really interesting. And so Maddie and Brody say that there's this cool video online that they have to watch, and Polly watches it, but then Twig and Anna, they hear that something's up about the video, like saying like if you like the video is cursed or something, so they don't want to watch it, or at least Twig doesn't want to watch it because he doesn't. He's like, well, he's like, why fall into the peer pressure, And so Anne doesn't listen to him and eventually watches it, and it seems to be this cute little video about a cat Pikachu. No, not a Pikachu. No, it was weird. It was. Was it? What was it? What was that thing? It's like. It looked like a fox, but it was like it had the ears, it had the tail, but it was very small, and it was like, okay, it's cute, but Anne notices how, and so like they kept talking about, oh, the people who watch this video mysteriously disappear, so I'm like, okay, so this is kind of like The Ring, right? And yeah, that kind of is what happens. So Anne watches the video and she notices that there's no dislikes on the video, and I'm like, wow, that would be amazing if nothing had a dislike. And so, and like, she is. So after Anne watches the video, she goes to lunch with Maddie, and Maddie is freaking out because Brody disappeared for some reason, and so Anne like kind of brushes it off, and then she leaves, and then Maddie, she literally we see what happens to Maddie, like she like her phone reacts and then she whips it out and then the video starts playing, but then like she gets sucked into the phone, and so it's like so Anne later goes to that night, and this is a nice little Kim Possible callback because Anne like calls him Twig, and then she literally asked him, what's the sitch? And I'm like, fine. So Sprig tells her that Anne and Brody are now missing, including Molly. So Anne realizes rather quickly that it is the video. Like she's like, the video, and I'm like, wow, no, like Maddie, Brody, and Molly have gone missing. The video. It's like, okay, and so. Pretty much like on cue, the video comes out of Anne's phone, but unlike where for Maddie, it just sucked her into the phone. The beast literally right out of the ring crawls out of the phone and tries to eat Anne. And Anne then realizes, and as Anne is trying to avoid it, she like screams in its face and like calls it. It's like, you're scary. You're not cute. And then the beast, like, she notices that the beast like gets hurt, literally physically hurt by that. So Anne realizes that in order to beat the beast, that she has to literally be the definition of a toxic fan. Like she just continuously hits the dislike button, and she even like sends out a comment, worst video ever, with like a bunch of bad emojis, and just sends it, literally swipes it towards the beast, which eventually destroys it, and everyone is saved except the beast leaves these little balls that at first they think, okay, yeah, it's like, all right. And of course the lesson of the episode of the short is obviously don't let peer pressure get to you, because just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean you should as well, because sometimes you just got to be able to trust your gut and just say, you know what, no, I'm fine not being with the norm sometimes. So of course this is immediately interrupted by Sprig coming in and saying, hey guys, there's this new burger place near the haunted part of town. Yeah, let's go. And then they do leave it with the Anne leaves it with this cliffhanger of like the balls that popped out of the beast are actually eggs, and so they hatch, and then it's like, ooh, to be continued. It's so. And yeah, so the so obviously we cut back to Anne like telling the story to the family. They're all impressed, and then Anne's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's like, oh my god, I forgot it's Wally's birthday. Like kind of out of the blue, they talk about how like Anne brings up that it's Wally's birthday, and we just cut to Wally sitting in his house, looking like he's sitting there, and there's just a banner and a birthday cake, and he's just so depressed, and I'm like, oh like literally I paused and I'm like, no, why would you do that to Wally? No. Again, I love Wally so much in this show. I just feel like he's been through too much, man. He's had enough. Please leave him alone. I mean, that would suck if it's like I mean, for Wally, it's his birthday. He's stuck in his house because of the shut-in. It's like, so no one can come and visit him. It's like, oh man, that's a lot of layers of sad. So, yeah, but yeah, so like I said, Polly tries to do another story. Like I said, she tried to do Children of the Spore, but Hop Hop is like, we already did that, and then he brings up, he makes this story, which for him is called Dead End, which is kind of like this, the best way I can sum this up, it's like the mixture of the Collateral, the movie where Jamie Foxx plays a taxi driver and drives around Tom Cruise's as hitman, you know, so like they go around and they perform hits. Where so basically Hop Hop's the driver and his passenger is the killer, but it also is, it kind of does have a little homage to something wicked this way comes, because the character that he drives around, Mr. Littlepot, who's also voiced by George Takei. Oh my. It's so creepy. So in Hop Hop's story, it's him when he's younger, and like I said, he is kind of like a taxi driver who goes around town picking up people and taking them to different places. So Mr. Littlepop is his most recent passenger, and the man requests Hop Hop to take him to certain locations, and guy's got the cane, he's got the suit, he's got the bowler hat, he's got the look, and it's like, yeah, this is very creepy. And Hop Hop basically goes around and it's so creepy. Like every stop they go to, the guy pulls out his watch and it's just like, it like always ticks to the 45-second mark of the minute, and then it's just like something happens, and then the guy goes in and collects, and he's like, eventually and then we have the twist of like the final stop is at Hop Hop's place, and he's like, my place, no, please, I don't want to die, and then basically, yeah, so like the guy reveals, he's like, well, you take people to their places where they have to go, so do I. It's like, and then the guy, so basically, yeah, the twist is the dude, so the dude, like, the last stop is he needs to collect Hop Hop, but it turns out it's not even Hop Hop. He whips out his cane and it turns into a sai, and then he slices Hop Hop and cuts off his most beautiful hair that Hop Hop literally spent, I'm pretty sure, the first minute of his story talking about. He's like, this beautiful slick hair, man, did I look good back in my day. We don't care. So basically, the Grim Reaper cuts Hop Hop's hair, leaves him with the bald spot right there, and a part of me was kind of hoping he'd be like, and that, children, is how I lost my beautiful hair. But it's like, it was a nice little joke, it was a nice little moment, and so, yeah. Very funny. It was very, that one was more comedic. I thought it'd be, I mean, in terms of the fear factor, I was like, well, I mean, where are they gonna go with it? That was where, I like that. I like how I didn't know where it was gonna go, because you could technically go anywhere with this, because, again, this is the Halloween episode, and considering the things that Amphibia has done with some of their episodes, like, even in the Sleepover End or Sleepover episodes, there was some level of fear factor, creeps in that, so I had no idea where it was gonna go, and I'm glad that was the fact. So after Hop Hop tells his story, Polly once again tries to tell her story. This one was Anne or Beast, but Anne immediately shoots it down because she's like, oh, come on, I'm not that scary. And so Sprig decides to go. And this was really funny. I like this. So they're like, well, what's your story called? And Sprig's like, oh, I got this story. It's about me and Ivy from the other day. And so they're like, well, what's the story called? And Sprig's like, I'm not sure. Honestly, I didn't come up with it. And then it literally cuts to the title card, and it's skin deep. And just by the title alone, Skin Deep, you kind of know it's something creepy. Like, so, basically, this is Silence of the Lambs, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, that's probably the best way to sum it up, because Okay, let's talk about it. So Sprig and Ivy, they are playing Bug Ball in the exact same arena that was in the Bug Ball episode back in season 1. And I just gotta say it, I really adore Sprig and Ivy. They're really cute together. I mean, we haven't seen. I mean, we haven't. I'm glad we're getting more and more of the relation of them together. I mean, if that was inevitable. I mean, considering we had the Sprig Ivy, we had the first episode with Ivy, and then we had them, finally like admitting their feelings to each other at the in season near the end of season 1, and now we have this, which is really cute. I like this. So they're playing bug ball in the field in the stadium, but then they accidentally lose the ball, and it goes into the dark forest, and Ivy even loses her hat, which reveals a lot of hair. She has a lot, like her hair is just poof, like. But the thing is, she's very shy about it. Like, so, like she asks Sprig not to look at her hair and like puts the cap back on, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's actually, yeah. So, I mean, I get that. There's some things about ourselves that we kind of are shy about. It's like, no, don't look at that. It's. But so they go into the dark part of the forest to retrieve the ball, and then Ivy tells Sprig, well, maybe it's home of the seamstress, of a monster that steals the skin of the frogs and wears it as its own. And it's like, okay, we're a freaking creep factor. So eventually they do find the house. They do find where the bug ball is, but it lands in this creepy little house in the middle of the forest, and they go in. And it seems like everything's fine, and then they find the freaking and very freaky. Like, this is, in terms of the 3 stories, which one's the scariest? I would say this one, because there were some really creepy factors in this. Whereas the other 2, there was some horror element in there, but it was more off screen, kind of. Or I mean, the second one was, most of the deeds that happened were off screen. The one with Anne was more like you just had a monster that didn't look too creepy, but just the idea of the thing of your phone sucking you in or something crawling out of the screen was kind of creepy. This one, it's like there's just seeing this person in a costume of just a little frog skin stitched together, and not even that, they like knock over this barrel and they see just a bunch of frog skins fall out. This is kind of creepy and free. And but luckily Sprig and Ivy were able to defeat it, because they realized that the reason why this person did this is because they are a glass frog, which for them is like transparent skin, so you can actually see everything inside of them. And so, like, even when they take the costume off, the glass frog like hides itself, and they're like, oh wow, it's just it just wanted to, wow. But then I like this, and like, well, yeah, but at the same time, it still technically killed all these frogs. So kill it, burn it with fire, burn it with fire. Yeah, it kind of goes dark. Like, they burn the place down and they basically kill it, and it's like, dang. It's like, dang, no, like, you had that moment of empathy for the thing, but then it's like, alright, now we burn the thing to the ground. And yeah, so, I mean, yeah, it was kind of creepy. And then I like this, Sprig ends the story, and then the family is like, they have so many questions. It's like, Ivy actually got bit by the thing, so they're like, what if Ivy's alright? And Sprig's like, oh, I'm sure she's fine. And then there's a knock at the door, and so Sprig's like, oh, who could that be? And so the family's like freaking out, like, don't open the door. And Sprig, of course, opens the door, and it's Ivy with the scary mask, and like scares the heck out of the family. And of course, it was all prank. Like, Sprig and Ivy came up with it, and it was really funny and cool. And then this little weird moment where Hoppa was like, wait, how are you? Wait. So, after the prank, Ivy said she's gonna go home, and Hop Hop asks, like, or no, Hop Hop tells Ivy to be safe, yeah, obviously with the moonlight, don't look at the moon, and Ivy's like, oh, no, it's okay, I can't even see out of this mask. So I'm like, wait, how did she get, like, she even, like, shows an example, like, she literally runs and hits a pole, like, she didn't even know it was there, and so it's like, wait, how did you even get there if you're blind, without not seeing the mask on? It's like, okay, but, yeah, so that's the three stories, but then it also has this little ending where, since Polly wasn't able to come up with her own scary story, she decides to go outside the house and actually look at the blue moon. I'm like, what? So, like, I mean, again, like, I like how Annie even brings this up. It's like, wait, is this a legend or is this actually a thing? Because, like, this world, the rules are interesting with it. So I was a little bit concerned with, Polly. Like, yeah, what if she looks into the moon and something bad happens? And so, but it does scare the family enough, and, like, but at first it seems like Polly, you know, she looked at the moon, but, nothing happened, so the family is relieved that she's okay, but at the same time, they're terrified at the fact that she could have done, and so they admit that that was the scariest thing that happened because, well, for them, it actually happened, like, it nearly happened, like, whereas the other three were, like, made up. Like, I like how they at the beginning they said they need to be true, they need to be scary, and I'm like, okay, I wouldn't say true for any of these. And so, just when it seems like the whole thing is done in order, Polly then turns into this werebeast thing. Like, because, and I find this funny because since he's a tadpole, she doesn't have legs, so, like, she literally, so think of Mike Wazowski, except brown fur, oh wait, no, not even Mike Wazowski, what am I thinking, basically, it's Polly, but now she's bigger. She's covered in fur, brown fur, and her legs and her arms are now basically her legs, like these giant legs. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of creepy. And then they just end it with that, and it's like, and then the outro is also creepy. It's Anne and Sprig's skeletons, and you have the creepy music, you have the dark background, you have the dark setting, and it's like, oh yeah, you also had the three big bads, like, so you had the monster from Ansbury, the George Takei from Hop Hop Story, and then the seamstress in Spring's story. They like come in and they laugh, and it's like basically to say like, this isn't canon, we're having fun with this. But again, it's like, for Halloween episodes, for like holiday episodes especially, it makes sense. I understand why it's not canon, because again, it's like, it gives you more freedom to do what you want. And again, and it's just, these guys must have had a blast writing these stories. Like, I bet you they had more than just these three. They probably just had like a storyboard of these crazy ideas of like all the different horror movies that they've seen and all the different tales they get told. And so like, I like how this one, it's like, each one had its own like feel to it, but it also took homages to like multiple stories rather than just one. Like, Anne's kind of was just The Ring. Hop Hop, you can definitely see a few different movies out of that, and same goes with Sprig's story. Like, there was definitely a few that were there, and so overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I really had a lot of fun with it. In terms of Halloween episodes I've seen, this is definitely a good one. This is, I mean, it's up there in terms of Halloween episodes, and I'm hoping that maybe the Owl House can pull something off like that. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but so if this isn't, actually, yeah, I just thought about this, because if this isn't canon, then that means the next episode will probably be them focusing on them returning to Wartwood. Probably that's what it could be. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to mention, this is another 22-minute episode. So this is our third 22-minute episode of the series, the second of the season. So there's two more to go. Yeah, there's two more to go. Yeah, there's two more 22-minute episodes to go. I haven't got to those yet. Again, though, this is really, I'm just having fun with these now. And again, I am so glad I am doing these right now because I just need, like I said before in the college episode, I just need an hour to watch an episode and talk about an episode because man, it's again, I need that. So I'm glad I did these. And for those who are watching them as they're coming out, the very few, thank you. But if you're watching this down the line, I hope you've been enjoying these videos. I'm glad I've been able to talk about them because I really want to share my experience with the show with you guys, especially since I'm almost back on track or back on the same track as everyone else because this week is going to be the penultimate episode of the season 2, and then next week is going to be the season 2 finale. And like I said, by the time I get all these vlogs done, I'll be right on the day of the season 2 finale, so I'll be able to talk about it on the day it comes out, which is perfect timing. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Spooky, scary stories of Amphibia. Yeah, I don't know why I did that.